All right.
and Lotto.
So
Um,
MC Search is selling his shares in his portions of Nas's catalog, and I think that we should say that it is Illmatic. It was written. They didn't say exactly which songs. I don't believe. But what are your
I think,
thoughts on this?
well, this is a wise business decision. This is one of the things that can happen when you don't own your own publishing for some of your material. Other people can go sell off your works as you become greater. But here's the real reason why I think that this happened. And this is what I mean. It can be twofold or threefold, depending on how you look at it. Well, MC Search has been part of this hip hop thing for a while and receives probably a lot of royalty checks from a lot of different things. But I don't think he has anything in his catalog, artist wise, producer wise, publishing wise, that is intrinsically as valued as the Illmatic and it was written stuff that he probably has rights to. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah. You
Okay.
want me to read the
Well,
quote real quick, just so we can give the people some context? Because I just pulled up the article. Is that
go
fine?
ahead.
Then you can go
Yeah,
ahead.
go ahead. Yeah, please go ahead.
Basically, it said, I have decided to sell the rights, including the global rights, Serch told allhiphop.com. I started a conversation with several companies a few months ago. For 27 years, it has provided my family through good times and bad. Now it's time to move on to another chapter. Serch was last part of the controversial music website hit piece. Okay, that's something else. Let me get back to it. It says, all right, Nas's debut album Illmatic has long been heralded as greatest work. His greatest work. Here they go again. As the album is in the Registry Library of Congress. Okay, blah blah blah. Yeah, they're not really saying specifically what it is. It's just that
Yeah,
quote.
no. I read the article. They're not saying anything. That's
Yeah,
all.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
all.
I was just saying it for the people before
Yeah,
we talk. All right,
word
go ahead.
salad. Um, well, here's the thing about it. There's this little thing. There's a Copyright Act. And I don't want to get too far down this rabbit hole, but there's a Copyright Act. Because we're going to end up talking about Prince and Michael Jackson if we get too far down the rabbit hole. You feel me?
Yeah, yeah. I love these. I think these
Yeah.
are educational conversations.
There's a Copyright Act, and I'm pretty certain that you're aware of this, Mike, that after 35 years of your publishing rights pretty much not being yours, well, those rights can be terminated,
Mm-hmm.
and then the rights can be purchased.
Yep.
Now, if memory serves, this is how Michael Jackson attained the Beatles catalog.
Yes.
Memory
Actually,
serves.
yeah, I believe so because again, no, it was the full company that owned those rights that was up for sale.
Right, but
Yeah.
after 35 years, you understand it's like a Copyright Act of 76 or something like that, where after 35 years, whoever owns it can be terminated and it can be bought. Well, Illmatic is 28 years old and it was written as 26 years old. Now, with the amount of wealth that Nas has accumulated, the chances are that when year 35 comes up, in the next 5 to 7 years, he's probably going to buy this catalog back, is what my assertion and my assumption would be. If not, he's doing himself a vast and great disservice.
Yeah, I'm sure
And
he will. Yeah.
yeah, and so I think this is more strategic by Serch because he can see the handwriting on the wall with kind of because this is how Snoop got
Death
the
Row, Doggy Style.
yeah, Doggy Style, the Death Row catalog.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was up for, and so I think this is more strategic and business driven. This is also a lesson to artists to, quite frankly, try to own all of your shit from jump because the fact of the matter is usually, and typically in rap terms, your first 2 albums or 3 albums are usually your best albums. And even though Nas is the greatest MC of all time, that's no different in his case or his regard because I would still have Illmatic and it was written number one.
Well, the
Number
way
two.
this industry's structured, and I want to piggyback on that because I see a lot of people saying things of that nature. Like I think in that group that you and I are in, somebody was, I guess using this as a way to put Jay-Z over Nas because Jay-Z, I guess owns the rights to his first album. We also have to understand that Halftime actually just celebrated 30 years. I want to say like yesterday or something. So this guy was 16, 17 years old, getting into these deals with big companies. Now, in a vacuum and in a perfect world, yes, it would be great to say, yeah, hold on to, your publishing coming in the door. But when you're coming in the door and you're a starving artist, for lack of a better term, you have no leverage with these companies. And a lot of artists, I mean, it's just part of the game. It's like playing your rookie contract. You're not going to be able to get a fucking max contract coming out of college. I don't care how good you are. You know what I mean? You're going to be on a rookie contract. And I think most artists understand that, okay, I'll develop my leverage by my third album. And that's usually how it goes. Now, granted, and even when you go the independent route, which you can do, and that's, definitely anybody's prerogative. But when you go the independent route, they'll treat your first major album, a la Nipsey Hussle, as your first album. Like the other ones just didn't even matter. So I think that Nas has put himself in perfect position when it's time to go ahead and get those records that do matter. I think Jay-Z was in a very unique situation. Him, Dame, and Kareem did an incredible thing with, Reasonable Doubt. But again, you're going to bite the bullet somewhere down the line, because if we look at it now, what Reasonable Doubt was commercially in relation to everything else in 96, it didn't do those numbers. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you owned it because, see, he did it I don't want to say backwards, but he was able to, own something and build it up, as opposed to hitting right away, like with Illmatic or with Ready to Die, whatever, and then having to go back. You know what I'm saying?
Well, respectfully, we're dealing with different circumstances, and
definitely.
Here's why. Well, here are the different circumstances. We're dealing with a prodigy who people heard in 1991 that the industry is actively looking for, wanting to succeed, and is looking at as the next big thing, and that's Nas. They weren't checking for Jay like that. I had a post I was about to do, Mike. Like, you want to know what the hood really does, or the projects, the inner city, whatever your phraseology for it may be. You want to know what it really does? It really separates you into who you are and who you're going to be. Okay? And so...
Explain that.
You want me to explain it on the MC level with Nas and Jay?
Yeah,
You want me to explain it on a personal level?
Let's do the MC level, since we're talking hip-hop.
Okay, on the MC level. Because Jay and Nas are comparable in ages, and Jay is older, and Nas is being more sought after by the industry, Jay's path is different. Jay is understanding, well, I don't have the buzz of a Nas or a Redman in 1991. And so he starts navigating his path differently to create for himself, to get people to feel him. That's where In My Lifetime comes from. Like the actual In My Lifetime, Skinny Nigga on the Boat?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where that comes from. And this is what I mean about the hood will separate you. It's like, oh, well, he knew early on that he wasn't the pure MC or lyricist that some of those other people were, but he was a hard-ass worker. And he had other things working for him.
Yeah.
Like, he was a hustler and a good hustler, and he knew it. And he starts to say to himself, well, if I keep improving with these rhymes, and I transition how I hustle in the streets to hustling in the music business, I can sit right here next to these guys, and Reasonable Doubt is the evidence of that. But you have to understand, when Reasonable Doubt's coming out in 96, Nas has been on the tip of everybody's tongue on some rap shit for 5 years already.
Yeah.
It's just different.
Yeah.
And so that's what I mean when I'm saying the hood will separate you. No, Nas got deemed a child prodigy who the industry sought out early. Jay's path was different and harder to travel through.
I think there are advantages in that too. Like, there are definitely advantages in that, because you're able to figure things out. You're able to put that work ethic in. And for the people who do believe in you, you can galvanize those troops. Like, we can do this. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's something about being able to operate with your back against the wall. Something else just clicks in.
Like, this is okay. So this is what I mean. People have to,
and we're gonna talk about this with the Lil Baby album too, because you get comfortable and people keep saying you this and that.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can go to that next. There are beautiful differences about Jay and Nas at their best that people don't realize. Let's go to It Ain't Hard to Tell and Dead Presidents, their first singles off their classic albums. Well, what's beautiful about It Ain't Hard to Tell isn't just that Nas is dope. It's almost like it's effortless, like he's not trying. Okay?
Yeah.
On Dead Presidents, no, you can feel Jay-Z's intensity and his struggle and his hustle. That's part of what makes it the record it is. He's not a natural like Nas is on the mic. He worked at it. You can hear it on Dead Presidents. The Soviet, the unified steady flow. You already know. You light. I'm heavy row, heavy dough. Mike machete, your flow. Your paper fall flow like confetti. Mine's a steady grow. Betty grow. Pay 5 in it. No, he's trying, Mike, because he wants to be there. Nas is like, it ain't hard to tell. I excel, then prevail. The mic is contacted. I attract clientele. That's different, Mike. That's a different level of effort. Nas is making this shit seem like, oh, yeah, this is nothing. This is what I do every day naturally.
Let me get some of these super chats. Dame252 says, is Serving Rome Streets featuring Bodie James a Song of the Year contender? That ish is fire. Definitely no Blow for Blow is.
Yeah, we think Blow for Blow is better.
Blow for Blow might be Song of the Year.
I think Blow for Blow might be Song of the Year. See, that's how you know that this is like, we on some rap shit, Mike. Yeah. Like, we're like, Blow for Blow might
Blow
be
for
rap
Blow is crazy. Repeat.
It is crazy. You know what? It's like anytime I hear something like that excites me like that and it comes from East Coast, it's like, I'm like, that's that Wu-Tang shit, or like, that's that Mobb Deep shit, where it's like, oh, it's like, what is that? It's like, oh, yeah, that's amazing. It's like, that's that hardcore East Coast rap shit.
Yeah, that's like hearing Glaciers of Ice or some shit.
It's not Glaciers of Ice.
No, but you know what I mean. That feeling you get.
No, it's that feeling. It's that excitement when you hear it. It's like, oh, what the fuck is that?
Jay Short says, why did Serch announce this? He also put MC Hammer in the streets. Messy. You know, it is interesting that he put out there. It's almost like, because usually when deals are being made, people do these things on the under. It's almost like he's putting this out here to leverage the sale. I've been talking to several companies. He wants these companies to know, oh, yeah, it's out there, whatever. It's almost like he's trying to get it to the highest bidder. I don't know if he's trying to get Nas's attention or whatever, but that is interesting. I didn't think of it like that. But yeah, this shouldn't even be publicized, really.
Well, this is the second fold part of it, Mike. You usually only publicize stuff like this, and stuff usually like this only gets out, I hate to say it, it's like if you need some money.
Peter Park says, Nas owns his publishing. What Serch is selling is his executive producer portion, which is only a percentage. Okay.
That's like sampling stuff. That's how Jay got the World Is Yours sample. You feel what I'm saying?
Right,
so there are some samples on Illmatic, and there are stuff like there's pieces of those records that Serch owns. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But usually when stuff like this does make the news, it usually is a money play, which usually means somebody needs money. Just fact of the matter. Because here's the thing: you don't have to publicize what is known and what is like great. It's like, you know, like him publicizing it kind of does speak to some of the fodder that people are saying that it's like, oh, is he having money troubles? It's like, oh, well, I don't know, because if there wasn't any money issues with it, why is he not just keeping the sale of it quiet? Because it is Illmatic and it was written. It's pretty fucking valuable to a lot of people out there. Like, I know this, if like Wu-Tang can get like if RZA can get what for a Wu-Tang album, like, oh, this Illmatic and it was written, and like, oh no, it's like the nigga didn't offer Enter the Wu-Tang. Oh yeah, you can get some serious money for it.
Yeah, it feels like he's trying to get whoever he's talking to up the price even more. Like, okay, I'm gonna let this is advertisement. I'm gonna let y'all know that this is up for sale, and you can get it, but I got other people out here who are looking for it too.
Well, let's go back to some of what I was saying earlier about the Michael Jackson and Prince thing. Okay, so let's take a guy like Bob Dylan, who I found out today sold his entire catalog for $500 million. Now, if Bob Dylan's catalog is worth $500 million, what do you think Michael Jackson's catalog is worth?
I mean, listen, man, well, I'll say this, man. We'll never know how much Michael Jackson's
worth. I'm not done yet. I'm not done interrogating you, Mike. Who owned the Beatles catalog, Mike?
That's what I'm saying. And not only just, so, I think we limit. Hold on, let me finish this.
I think 5 or 6, 7.
Just hold, real quick.
$7 billion worth of music.
Right, real quick, just so we don't limit it for our viewers. And I know you know this. Cool.
About no fentanyl, $5 billion worth of music in the catalog.
I know you know this, but I want to say this for our viewers. I mean, we're not going to limit Michael to just the Beatles catalog. He owned half of Sony's catalog. And the Beatles catalog and everything that came with that allowed him to leverage the deal where Sony wanted at least a piece of the Beatles catalog. So he went into the deal that was sweet for him where he was like, look, you want half of the Beatles shit and everything else is over here? Let me get half of everything you got. And that's what it was. So that including his catalog, including the fact that he actually made, I think it's still the record for the most points on a single album. He brokered that deal right before Thriller. Thriller has sold like 115 million records, probably more than that by now. So you have the highest points on individual album royalties, highest selling albums of all time, and you own half of Sony. Yeah, it's a lot.
Okay. And they're going to be like, oh, the doctor killed him. It's like, oh, really?
Bigger than the doctor.
That's that bullshit we kicked. Oh, the doctor
is bigger than Conrad.
I'm just saying. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah,
you feel what I'm saying?
No, it's a lot.
Since we're talking about publishing, no, you want to talk about some publishing? Let's talk about some publishing. Now, so Michael Jackson got about $5-6 billion worth of publishing that he owns. But let's go to Prince.
That's kind of even lowballing what Michael had. Who knows? But yeah.
No. I look at it like this. If Bob Dylan, his catalog is worth $500 million, if Mike owns the Beatles catalog and his catalog, I'm going to give Mike $2 billion. I'm going to give each Beatles $500 million like Bob Dylan at a minimum. So we're talking a minimum $4 billion right there. We talking some Sony shit. You can go ahead and put another 2 on it. So somewhere between $5 and $7 billion worth of music. That's a minimum.
I would say that Sony shit's another 10. It's a whole lot of artists.
No, we're doing minimums. We don't know how Sony does the books. Mike probably does. You know, that's the part Nas is talking about in Success.
Yeah.
Like Mike Jack's ATU part, Mottola Can't Touch. Let this bitch breathe.
Well, Mike was trying to get that back, and they were going back and forth, and that's why he called Tommy Mottola the devil. And that's one of the reasons why he felt like they didn't promote Invincible properly because of those dealings. And when you think about it, I mean, Invincible, even without promotion and stuff, I think it still ended up doing like 10 million. But Michael Jackson doing one music video for an album?
It was 6 originally. It was 6 originally.
Yeah, probably something like that. Whatever it was. I was just throwing a number off the cuff. But let's just say 6 million, right? One music video for a Michael Jackson album? I always thought that was weird. Jay Short with the super chat says Mike had a contract clause where after 8 to 10 years, all rights and royalties to his music would revert back to him. The label basically rented the rights. Yep, and I think that 8 to 10 years, that ran out in 2009. And, June 25th, 2009, brother passed away. Rest in peace, Michael Jackson.
It is funny. It is funny how those things coincide.
Coincidence, man.
You know what?
Rock-a-shaw with the super chat.
I don't even want to touch the Prince thing anymore. All I'm saying is that it's just,
Rock-a-shaw with the super chat says...
OD? Not the cocaine in the 70s and the 80s that these niggas did, but some shit. Oh, okay. Got it. That's when they overdosed and died. I got it.
Rock-a-shaw says, Nas was born to use mics, and Jay-Z is a rap hustler. If Jay-Z is a rap hustler, he's an incredible hustler, man. I mean, I think he's an MC first. I always say that Jay is an MC first. I think that his hustle took over to propel his MC skills.
No, here's what I'll tell you. His passion is MCing. He is still a better businessman, but his passion is MCing. And so he just happens because of, situations and circumstances to be the businessman and the thinker that he is. And so you can't stop the way that he thinks, but you can't change his passion as well.
Yeah.
And what makes him arguably the greatest MC of all time, in somebody's opinion, is that nobody who has been considered that great of an MC has had that big business acumen like him in their prime and expressed it in a way to empower other people. That's what's special about him in relationship to his high-level contemporaries.
No, I agree. Peter Parks with the super chat says, question, do you think the streaming services dropped the worth of an artist's music catalog? I do think ultimately, yeah. I mean, because at the end of the day, just like in sports, once again, owners are looking for any reason not to pay an athlete what they're worth. And if whoever is buying these catalogs or whatnot, and just purely on the music, they could say, well, based on the record sales, this is what it used to be in the record selling climate, but this is what a catalog like this is worth now because all we have is streams to go on.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
any buyer, if you're out here buying a car, you know what I'm saying, you're gonna find a way to try to get the car salesman to come off a price.
So that's where the streaming has devalued the totality of the catalog in terms of the artist's ability to see. I guess it's kind of twofold even with that though, because doesn't that make the ability for the artist to buy it back cheaper inherently, even though the catalog is worthless?
Possibly.
Okay.
Yeah, possibly. But
It's a two-way street. If it's worth less, it costs less. You feel me?
Right.
That's how economics work too. Like there has to be a cycle and a flow in order for it to work. Like you can't just fuck somebody and not let them get in anywhere in the economic cycle in order for it to keep flowing. Like you still have to pay people.
But where does the 360 fit in all of this? So it's
Okay,
like,
that doesn't fit anywhere. That is what we like to call from our day that fuckery. That's why when we saw 360 deals, we all jumped out. We're like, what is that? It's like, you're gonna do what? It's like, no. That's how you get rich.
but who's to say that now, when you're talking about buying catalogs from the streaming era, that they're not going to include everything else, just like the 360 deal with likenesses and things like that? Because it's like, look, if I'm buying this catalog, I want to be able to have the licensing for the merch and things like that too. It's a new buyout clause. Eric Terrell with the super chat says, talking about diss records, this time around was Tommy Mottola's diss record by Michael Jackson and Biggie. I never listened to it like that. I'm gonna go back and listen to this time.
I'm gonna go listen to it. Yeah. So, here's the thing about it, I've spoke to this on this show before too. It's one of our archive shows, probably from a couple years back now. Hip hop needs a union. I've said this before, man. I've told you that hip hop needs a union, some sort of formation that like kind of puts people under an umbrella that people can contribute to. Like, and I get it, and I'm not trying to castigate anybody because a lot of our MCs who are well-to-do do very philanthropic things. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But you would also be served in your community by taking care of like the community that kind of provided from you and kind of shielding them so they can kind of help those around them and build up the community as well. And
I think what happens is, I love what LL's doing with Rock the Bells. And I think that when you don't have a union, it's like a few people are left with a lot of the heavy lifting, And I think that there's enough for it. I think we could do more with everybody doing a little. And
I told you,
with being an MC and being a hip hop artist, a profession, and it's been a profession for about 40 years now, right? There's no reason why a 40-year-old profession shouldn't have a union at this point. All the money that that comes in and out of this industry with hip hop alone, and it's kind of inexcusable.
So, Mike, I'm gonna tell you what. There was a company that I used to work for about 8 or 9 years ago. I just went back to them. Now, when I first started working there, they were, I wouldn't call them a small startup operation. I would call them efficient local neighborhood operation.
Mm-hmm.
It's 10 years later. I just went back about a month ago. Currently employed with them now. They now have 401k. It's 10 years. It's 10 years later. They have 401k. All right? They have benefits options available if you only work 30 hours a week. Listen to what I'm saying. If you work 30 hours a week, you are eligible for benefits. 401k, a 401k option that they match. This is from a startup company about 15 minutes from my house. It's only been in existence for 10 years.
Mm.
You feel me? So, like, don't tell me hip hop can't do these things. I literally just went back to a company that when I used to get done at the end of the night, they used to hand me cash. You know what I'm saying? And now they have a 401k system that matches. And like, like a savings fund. You get what I'm saying? And like a whole system set up in a decade. It's been 40 years. So do not tell me that we cannot galvanize and organize a system that this can work under. Like I'm literally watching it being done 15 minutes up the street from my house. It's part of why I went back to the company, Mike. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah. Jay Short says with the super chat, Tim for a Koofy hat. He says, notice how MJ, Prince, Aretha types allegedly never have a will. Stevie better put his online. I digress.
It's funny how all these intelligent think about all the brilliant business strategic moves these people made, but they ain't got no will.
This is the thing, man. Prince was all about ownership, all about music. The man had a vault in his house. You have a vault full of music. You don't have a will. It's hard for me to believe. Whatever.
Nobody believes that.
You talk. That's preparing. When you have a vault of music, you're preparing for after or whatever. You know what I'm saying? How do you have all of those things
you probably
in line?
have decided how you want it distributed, or if you want it held or not, or what you want done at what times.
Exactly. Yes. How do you not have instructions to this vault? You know what I'm saying? It's hard to believe.
And it's funny how all the people close to him have shut up about all their conversations that they ever had with him since he's been gone. Isn't that crazy?
Dirty game, man. The Raisin Head with the super chat says Jay is the only great MC who bank account matches his actual abilities. In that respect, he's the Michael Jordan of rap. Jay is MC goals. Yeah, I think he is the mark when it comes to anybody coming in the game. Is like, what MC do you want to be overall? I think most people would probably say Jay.
Yes. Okay, so that's where he won early, and this is what I mean about it being a marathon and not a sprint. No, you can say that about Nas now, but you couldn't say that back then. You've been able to say that about Jay the entirety of the time. It's like where Jay was business-wise in terms of how he was getting his money and how fast it was coming and the different streams that it was creating. Oh, he was getting money like Puff was getting money as being an owner of a label. You get what I'm saying?
This is the first time it's ever been debatable.
That type of level, but he was the MC. And so you have to understand, it's like if you're doing that like top 10 MC list, it's like, I mean, Nas, Jay, and Ice Cube are who's standing out in my mind in terms of their wealth.
Well, you know what? It's interesting you mentioned Ice Cube because I think Ice Cube is right there in the debate, but no one ever positions Ice Cube in those conversations.
No, he's right there. When we're talking about money talk, who you would want to be, but what I'm saying is they never publicize him like that. If you're talking about back then, it should be Jay. Ice Cube's always been looked over. But what I'm saying is that Ice Cube was like that slow, steady build. See, people like it fast. It happened for Jay fast in people's mind because a lot of people didn't see him or hear from him till like 96, 97 if you're ahead. And if you're a casual fan, 98. So when you're seeing him in 2001 with this money and you've only been listening to him for 3 years, that's very attractive. You don't know that that's the dude that came and, ran with Kane and ran with Jazz and, did Reasonable Doubt, did In My Lifetime before Reasonable Doubt. You don't know that guy. So when you're seeing him with all this money in 2002, it's like, oh, this guy's only been here 4 years. He's worth $100 million. It's like, oh, man, that guy been here since like 88.
But see, they don't publicize Cube like that. You know what I mean? In a way where they talk about him financially. You never see him like Forbes like that. But it's like, we know Cube has been getting big money for a very long time.
Oh, somebody brought up LL in the chat. LL too. But here's the thing.
Let me finish my thought real quick.
They have.
This is what I was gonna say about Cube. Cube has such a fuck you attitude. What message does it send for somebody to be that financially great and stable with that kind of attitude who doesn't play the game? I don't think that they want to publicize Cube's wealth because of his approach. Cube's not the guy that's going to sit here and play the game with you and, mince words, and he got it anyway.
There was part of that, but also, too, the game was different then, too.
He's been getting money. They never publicized Cube's worth. Ever.
No. You're
Even
right.
with
I
all
told
the
you, like
films.
what? Friday took $3 million to make. It made $18 million the first year, $15 million profit turnaround. Nobody talks about that $15 million profit he turned
Yeah, we know
in
that.
1990. What?
Yeah.
Like way before Jay had a record deal. Yeah.
I mean, the whole Friday series, all of those Fridays made money. Players
Yeah.
Club made
No,
money.
I'm not.
Barbershop, you know what
I'm
I'm
not. I'm not.
saying?
I'm not knocking what you're saying, but when people look at Jay, people look at Jay's money like it's rap money. You feel what I'm
I
saying?
feel you.
They don't look at Cube's money like Cube's money is rap money. They don't look at Nas's money like it's rap money. They're like, oh no, you got Hollywood money. No, you got tech money. Jay
Well,
got rap money.
honestly,
It's like, no. Jay has like fashion and like hustler and like designer, like you know what I'm saying? Like, no, he got the same type of money like
well, all right, look, when Cube went to Priority, fresh off of NWA, he got an astronomical deal because he's Ice Cube from NWA. Not to mention, as soon as he hit the ground on America's Most, that nigga's selling records like hotcakes. He never was not selling records, and kind of like the Michael Jackson thing I was talking about, the point system that he was getting in Priority. Like, who you think set the infrastructure for Master P and
Right.
Jay to put out Reasonable Doubt on Priority? That's Cube. Cube might have been the first rapper on Priority. He set that stage for Priority.
So I'm not discounting anything that you're saying. But what I will submit to you is that Cube is black on both sides.
Mm-hmm. He is.
Like the Most Def album.
Yeah.
And when you're black on both sides, Mike, you feel me? Like when you're black in front of us, but when you're probably blacker in front of them than maybe you even are in front of us. Like he gets in front of us and is like, well, you see, he's probably in front of them like, bitch.
Cube is scary. Cube is scary on all levels because he's intelligent.
Scary on all levels. He is the nigga that you love to hate. There's a reason that there's a record called The Nigga That You Love to Hate.
He's intelligent.
It has everything to do with black people and white people feeling that way.
He's intelligent. He's straight to the point, and he's been fucked over once with NWA, but that was it. We got him for that one period. That's it.
Fuck me one time. You got one time to fuck me.
Jay Short with the super chat says they're not doing college courses on Cube. Of course they're not.
That's hilarious.